We have made it to the trade deadline here in year number 6 at the Chicago White Sox franchise here on MLB the Show 25. And we're certainly in an interesting spot given that the team is 55-51, currently holding the third wild card spot in the American League, which 2 months ago that seemed impossible. We were 13 games under 500, really struggling, but have totally turned it around since the end of May. Last episode we went through part of June and basically all of July. We ended up with 2 All-Stars, the starting battery for the American League with Framber Valdez and Kyle Teel, both very well deserved, but I think Edgar Quero probably should have gotten in as well. Sure, he struggled early in the year, but Kyle Teel was worse than him for the first month of the season, and Quero's numbers are probably better than any American League catcher right now other than Teel. That includes Ivan Herrera with the Yankees, who's been splitting reps. And the Yankees had other All-Stars. It's not like he was their only one. Not to mention, Quero's played every game this year, and Teel has only missed 2. That's pretty remarkable at the catcher position, even though obviously they've split off at catcher. That's still kind of wild. As we've talked about, at one point this team was 18-31. It has been remarkable to watch these guys turn things around. And for a while, it seemed like we'd be sellers at the trade deadline, looking at guys like Framber Valdez, Hayden Wesneski, Corey Julks, and selling them off for prospects. Now, this team is playing some of the best baseball I've ever seen them play in this series, and we currently hold a playoff spot. We had to jump like 9 teams in order to do this, but we're here. Now we've got to hold the playoff spot, though, which is a lot easier said than done because we're only 1 game in. We are currently 12th in batting average, which is remarkable because for most of the year, we were in last. Going into last episode in the middle of June, I think we started off like 28th or 26th. So the fact that we are in 12th is remarkable. Our stars are playing like stars. Teel, Quero, and Smith have all looked a lot better. We still need more from Shane Schmidt, however, but the other 3 have played a lot more like themselves, and we've had some guys really become spark plugs for us. The Mike Trout signing has been a home run, literally and figuratively. He has turned back the clock. This looks like 2010's Mike Trout, at least at the plate, with the offensive stats. OPS above 1,000 for the first time in nearly a decade. Sure, he doesn't have the speed or defense that he once did, and we're not playing him every day because we want to keep him healthy and energized for the end of the year. But he's been unbelievably good in 45 games. The pitching has been very solid all year. I feel like there have been some bumps in the road. It's been a little inconsistent, but as a unit, we've been performing strong. Hayden Wesneski's been solid. Noah Schultz has been playing really well. And the bullpen, for the most part, has been good. But Ezra Valenzuela has really struggled. So much so that we sent him down to AAA during the month of July, where so far he's played really well. And I don't anticipate he'll be here in the minors too much longer. But it was certainly alarming to see his struggles. Before we sent him down, his ERA was like 15 over his last 10 games. I mean, it was a disaster from him. He was one of the best closers in the league over the last 2 years. Other than the batting average, all of our team stats are pretty much in the top 10. 7th in runs, 8th in homers, 5th in walks, 3rd in ERA, 3rd in hits allowed, 3rd in earned runs allowed, tied for 8th in homers allowed. I'm surprised we're in the top 10. And then we're 11th in walks allowed, which is lower than the others. But for most of the year, we were in the 20s. So the fact that, much like batting average, we've gotten that one all the way up to near the top 10 is really impressive. Another guy who's been a big reason for our resurgence is Oswaldo Escobedo, who returned from injury in the last episode, and he's been phenomenal. WAR of 2 this year in 37 games. He had a career WAR of 0.5 going into the year. He's multiplied it by 5. We've stayed relatively healthy for the most part. Obviously, Thorpe and Burke have missed pretty much the whole year, but otherwise, we're a lot luckier than we were last season in terms of the injuries, and knock on wood, that will continue. We've got to figure out what we want to do during this trade deadline. Now that we have a playoff spot, obviously we're going to look to buy. We're going to look to make this team better because, I mean, many of these guys have played in the World Series just last year. They know what it takes. But I want to be cautious as well. We have a very good group at the top of the farm system. I'm not looking to trade one of these top 4, maybe even top 5 guys unless we're getting a needle-moving player. So we have to be cautious with that. Now, last year, we hit a grand slam with our 2 trade deadline deals. Sure, Cam Smith struggled for the early part of this year, and he was pretty bad in the World Series, but he played great down the stretch last year and is looking a lot more like himself over the last couple of months. Our other move was to get Taj Bradley, which ended up being a great trade. He was awesome for us, and if not for the wheel, we totally would have brought him back. He was going to be my number 1 priority, even ahead of Luis Robert. Now, the trade deadline before was not as successful. Garrett Hampson was a flop. Dean Kramer was fine, but nothing spectacular. So we need to be cautious with the moves we can make, and hopefully it'll be like last year's deadline where we got an ace and a big-time offensive bat. Obviously, we've got to be mindful of the money. We've got to keep in mind that we have the Reinsdorfs running the show again, so we cannot be as lucrative in terms of spending green. I think we're going to start big and work our way small. We're going to look at a few megastars who could be available for the right price, starting with Tink Hence in St. Louis. He's one of the best pitchers in the league and certainly will be a Cy Young candidate. We would have a year and a half of control with him, and the Cardinals are roughly 500, so maybe they're willing to. The Orioles have completely fallen apart the last couple of months, and it kind of seems like this era for Baltimore is coming to a close. Jackson Holliday is a free agent. They could get a lot for him because he's one of the very best players in baseball. And then this one might be a little bit more far-fetched, but I wouldn't rule out Fernando Tatis Jr. in San Diego becoming available. Tatis is the only player higher than a 97 in the entire game, being a 99. Now, he has 4.5 years left on his deal, which really, he's not making that much. But the Padres are fourth in the division. The Dodgers have a super team. The Giants seem like they're going to be steady contenders for a while. The Diamondbacks have been one of the most pleasant surprises in baseball, and even the Rockies are not that bad. So maybe San Diego looks to tear it down. I quickly learned that Tatis will not happen. Kyle Teel and Edgar Caro alone would not be enough. What about Jackson Holliday in Baltimore? This one would make a little more sense given his contract. I don't think I'd be willing to trade Shane Schmidt, even if that deal would make us better in the short term. This might be crazy, but what if we tried to get both Holliday and Luis Robert? Lou Bob is a negative asset right now because his contract is so bad, but maybe we could afford to trade less for Holliday, and we take on the big contract with Lou Bob. Again, though, Teel and Caro is not going to be enough, and it's barely enough for just Jackson Holliday alone. So I don't think that's going to happen. What about Tink Hence with the Cardinals? This is a legit ace and a guy who I would certainly try to lock up and extend before Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't let us. The Cardinals are 2.5 games out of the wild card spot, so they could go either way. He's currently in fourth in terms of NL pitching war. The price for him is smaller than some of the other guys. We could do a deal like this, but I'm not trading Ezra. I'm certainly not giving up on him and trading him at his lowest value. And Richie Lindsey, I think, is the best prospect in our system. Realistically, we would have to trade one of these top pitching prospects in order to make this happen. They would obviously be the focal point of the deal. All of them have roughly similar value for the most part. But if I put Mike Benitez in, we would have to trade Edgar Caro in order to make this work. And obviously, Edgar's a guy who I want to keep long term. So I don't think that's feasible. Let's maybe look a stoop lower. What about a guy like Michael Harris in Atlanta, who's having one of the best offensive seasons of his career? Already with a WAR at 4. He's on a pretty team-friendly contract. He's made the All-Star team in each of the last 2 years. Only $9 million for 2.5 more seasons. That is a steal. And it's going to be a lot easier to get him. Everyone's viewing Ezra as a prospect. I'm just going to call him up real quick because I'm sick of seeing him listed with the prospects. But like, this is a reasonable trade. Mike Benitez, Douglas Cato, and a relief pitching prospect. That's pretty fair for 2.5 years of Michael Harris. Justin Crawford is kind of in the same boat. The Phillies have been awful this year. Talk about a World Series hangover. Crawford's a good player, though. Relatively high average, can hit for power, plays really good defense. He has 1.5 years of control, and he's making more money than Harris, but he's also 26, and he has a potential, so there's more room for him to get better. The price, relatively the same to Michael Harris. I decided to take a look at the upcoming list of free agents to try to see if there are any players here who could potentially be interesting. Of course, it is a weak free agency class. Now, someone like Randy Arozarena will not be available. He already has a 7 WAR here at the trade deadline. That's nuts. And with the Phillies losing him, they've completely fallen apart. I think someone in the 20s, maybe not Burke or Julk specifically, but somebody in the 20s or 30s could make sense. It really is not a good free agency class, though. But I think Yuri Perez could make sense as like a body in the rotation. He's not great. Negative WAR. It wouldn't cost us a whole lot. I think we'd be able to get him without trading a top 10 prospect in the system. Bo Bichette would probably be a little bit trickier. He does have some seasons where he chooses to troll. And the Pirates actually have a shot at making the playoffs. But I think he'd be a good addition for our lineup theoretically and could be worth a look. Nick Lodolo in Colorado, we tried to sign him a few years ago. Ultimately, he ended up with the Rockies. He's having a nice year this year, certainly better than Yuri Perez, but he would also be quite a bit harder to get because he's been better than Perez. So ultimately, I decided to make 3 moves. The first of which is getting Yuri Perez from the Miami Marlins, who have been one of the most disappointing teams in the league this year. They've been really good for a few years now, but they traded away Connor Norby. They lost some guys in free agency. I know the numbers don't look great for Yuri Perez. The ERA is nearly at 5. His FIP is above 5, but we're not giving up that much, and I wanted to add another veteran, another body in the rotation. We don't need him to be a star. We have Hayden Wesneski. We have Framber Valdez. We're banking on Noah Schultz to continue to produce. His ERA is in the mid-2.5s over his last 10 games. He's been really good. You need 4 starting caliber pitchers in the postseason, and Yuri Perez gives us a guy who could easily be the 4th. He doesn't need to be better than that. We're trading away the 12th ranked prospect in the system, the 18th ranked prospect, and then another guy who's not ranked in the top 20. So it's really not that much. Elton Bell was our 6th rounder last year. He's got good stuff, throws hard, but is really raw. Carter Brandon was a 3rd rounder in year 2. I like the skill set, but he's really struggled in Double-A. And then Henry Gomez is a reliever, throw-in essentially. I don't think we're giving up that much. We're getting a guy in Yuri Perez who once showed to have all-star upside. That's clearly gone, but he's a guy who can play at the big league level. The second trade is a smaller one. We're sending Ha-Seong Kim to the Giants. He was a starting caliber player last year with the Angels. The Giants need second base really bad, so they'll be getting him and Kyle Bischoff in exchange for Will Bednar, former first rounder who finally made his big league debut this year and played really well. Again, though, the idea is that we're getting another body. He's probably going to start in AAA, but he gives us a guy who we can call up in a pinch if needed, because there's really nobody in AAA who I would trust to start in a big league game tomorrow. I do think Will Bednar could do that. And now it's time for the big trade. We are going to make a splash, and we'll be getting Justin Crawford from the Philadelphia Phillies, who beat us in the World Series last year. What a fall from grace. 40-65, the worst record in Major League Baseball. The worst World Series hangover ever. The Phillies are getting older. Kyle Tucker is made of glass. Bryce Harper, Mitch Keller, Trey Turner, even George Kirby, all on the wrong side of 30. Justin Crawford's got a year and a half left on his deal. I think this could be worth it. We're trading the 73rd ranked prospect in baseball in Sal Casey, along with the 11th ranked guy in our system with Pedro Valdez. We're trading 3 guys who were part of our inaugural draft class from season 1. Sal Casey's the best asset of the group. He's had a nice year in Double-A, and I think he's only a year or 2 away from being a major league caliber starter. We've been developing him for a while. I think he's a really good prospect. I do think both Odell Herron and Mike Benitez are better. Herron is the 2nd ranked starting pitching prospect in all of baseball. Benitez is 7th. Casey's outside the top 20. Pedro Valdez was our 3rd rounder in 2025. He just really hasn't developed offensively. Defensively and the speed, there are some similarities to Justin Crawford, honestly, but the bat just isn't really there. And then Douglas Cato is also going to the Phillies, our 6th rounder in 2025. It just hasn't worked in the big leagues with Cato because of the injuries. He hasn't shown to stay healthy. He hasn't played well this year. Over 4 years of MLB service already. He's a fun player, and he's had some good moments and some good seasons for us. And I think being the everyday starter in Philadelphia rather than in and out of the lineup, in and out of the big league club, I think that will do him well. We're getting a really good player, though, with Crawford. What I think this team has been missing with the loss of Luis Robert is a true center fielder, guy with range, a guy with an elite arm, and a guy with great speed. We're towards the bottom third of the league in terms of our defensive and speed ratings, and I really wanted to make those better. So we're getting a guy in Crawford who I think really raises the floor of this team. He kills the lone weaknesses we had. Claudio Rubio and Will Bednar will go down to the minors. We need to send one more guy down. I really don't want to send Joey Smith down because he's played well, but I don't really have anybody else. That's including Ezra, by the way, who will be returning to AAA. So with that, our trade deadline is done. Justin Crawford will be the leadoff hitter. He will wear jersey number 1. I think this is a prototypical leadoff hitter. We haven't really had one of those during the entire duration of the series. I don't think Barney Wagner is quite there yet. We've used Corey Julks as a leadoff hitter. I don't think he's fast enough. But now we have Crawford who can do it. We've got a core group of 5 with Crawford, Teal, Caro, Schmidt, and Smith. Brian Ramos will come off the bench for now because he is hurt. And then Mike Trout, I just don't want him playing every day because he's 38 years old. I want to keep him well rested and energized for a potential playoff run because I think we are going to really need him if we go on a deep run in October. Shane Schmidt, for now, will also not play against lefties. It's not really a lefty or righty thing with him. He struggled against everyone. I think maybe not playing him every day could do him well. Yuri Perez joins the rotation, of course, and then the bullpen largely stays the same. I think our big trade deadline move in terms of the bullpen is going to be getting Ezra back at some point, and if he starts to play well again, it's like we added a great player to the bullpen. All right, let's discuss some other moves across the league. We'll start with the Orioles, who are tearing things down. This era in Baltimore is over. Jackson Holliday and Roki Sasaki are on the move. We'll start with Sasaki, who is also a free agent at the end of the year. They got him in the Gunnar Henderson trade a few offseasons ago with the Dodgers. In hindsight, that deal ended up being a loss because Roki Sasaki never really became consistent here. Granted, I think the advanced numbers are better than his base ERA and WHIP, but I think that's a deal they wish they had back. He's going to the Mariners, who are the number 1 seed in the AL. Their pitching is questionable. Now, Emerson Hancock is the current leader for Cy Young, even though his numbers are not that good. But their rotation's a little shaky. They'll be giving away a lot. Doyle Diaz, former first-round pick. He's a guy we really liked as a prospect. Could be the long-term starter at shortstop. They're able to keep their best young outfielders, though. Harry Ford, who's been platooning with Adrian Del Castillo, he's going to move to Baltimore as well. I really think this is a win-win for both sides. Seattle addresses their biggest weakness, which I think makes them the favorites to make it out of the American League. Baltimore's getting a stud with Doyle Diaz, who can play right away, could be their long-term shortstop, but Seattle is Ellie. They don't really need him. Jackson Holliday, meanwhile, is going to the Giants for 3 top 5 prospects in the San Francisco system. And this propels the Giants to be true Tier 1 World Series favorites with the Dodgers. They're already ahead of the Dodgers in the division, and now they improved their biggest weakness, which is the middle infield spot next to Willy Adames. So they'll be getting the San Francisco number 1 prospect, and Alan Olson, their first rounder last year, who looks like he could be an ace in the future. Steven McDermott, an A potential first baseman, and Rainer Arias, a guy in the outfield who's probably going to be producing at the big league level pretty soon. It's a lot to give up for a rental, but the Giants are confident that they'll be able to extend him. They're really going all in. Shota Imanaga was signed by the Rays this offseason, and he has been terrific. He made the All-Star team. He has 2.5 years left, which is interesting at 36. Tampa Bay is going to capitalize on his value and trade him now. It's a little bit of a risk to take on a 36-year-old who's making a lot of money over the next couple of years, but if there's any team who can afford it, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they know they needed to make a move after seeing the Giants go out and get Jackson Holliday. The Dodgers had the greatest lineup ever. Vlad, Henderson, Acuna, Bregman, Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, etc. Their pitching is not great, though. They'll be trading away Matthew Cleary and Samuel Munoz, 2 solid prospects. Both of them are 25 years old, but Imanaga joins a rotation that really needs him. And I think this pushes the Dodgers just a little bit back ahead of the Giants, although it's very close. That'd be an awesome playoff series. The Connor Norby trade for the A's has been a disaster. They got him during the offseason. Now, granted, it's not really anyone's fault. Norby's been hurt all year. He is healthy now and is playing well, but the Athletics have been a big disappointment after making the playoffs last year. He's going to the Yankees, who are a few games under 500, but they're going for a wild card spot in the AL, trading away 3 outfielders, Raul Pinheiro, Brando Maea, and Robert Calaz. I think this is great value for the Yankees. I don't think any of these 3 guys are really needle moving. For the A's, they recoup some prospects, certainly less than what they traded away to get Norby at the beginning of the year for just 13 games. The Pirates are only a couple games out of a wild card spot. It looks like they've got something with Tamar Johnson, who made the All-Star team. They'll be getting Brady Senior from the A's. He's been a little disappointing this year, but they don't have to give up that much. Fernando Marquez, Alex Ponson, and former first-rounder Boris McRae. The Pirates need some more help in the pitching rotation, obviously losing Paul Skeens and Jared Jones last year during the deadline. The Brewers are getting Christian Moore from the Angels, made his first All-Star team at 27 years old, and the former top 10 pick out of Tennessee is headed to Milwaukee. The Angels looking to capitalize on his value. It's an interesting fit in Milwaukee because the Brewers already have Tyler Fitzgerald and CJ Abrams, who are great hitters, but bad defenders in the infield. Christian Moore's got a great bat, not a great defender. The Angels are going to get back Robbie Ray, a big get for them, and Reggie McClendon. I would think one of these 3 infielders is going to have to play DH. The infield defense might be rough, but they can all really swing the bat. The Royals are going to have a big deadline. Their first move is to go out and get Mitch Keller from the Phillies, who's been awesome during the duration of this series. The Royals made a big move last year to get Jared Jones from the Pirates. The Royals fall off. Jones leaves. He signs with the Giants, and now he's probably going to win the Cy Young, playing for the best team in the league. So they're going to give up a lot with Leandro Tapia, an 18-year-old third baseman with A potential, but I think it's worth it for Keller, who's really good. And unlike Jones, not a rental. They'll get to keep him next year. They're also going to get Gregory Santos from the Blue Jays. Their bullpen's not great. They have one of the best closers in the league in Miguel Lozano. Otherwise, the bullpen's kind of shaky, and they don't have to give up that much. A couple of outfielders. Johnny Rayumo's only 19 years old. Eric Pena was once seen as a top prospect. Hasn't really panned out. And then the Tigers are going to make a big move as well. They're getting Kyle Manzardo from the Nationals. They got him in the Mackenzie Gore trade a few years ago. That's been one of the few good moves made by the Nationals in this series. Manzardo is awesome. Cleveland was actually interested in bringing him back. It was going to be either Cleveland or Detroit. Washington wanted to do their guy right. They don't want to send him to Cleveland. Reed Salinas, Lawrence Portillo, and Guillermo Correa are going back to the Nationals. Manzardo has another year on his deal after this one, and he joins forces with Geraldo Perdomo, Jose Ramirez, and Max Clark, forming one of the better lineups in baseball and certainly in the AL Central. So a very exciting deadline. We got better, the Tigers got better, the Royals got better, the Yankees improved in the AL East, Seattle made a big move getting Roki Sasaki. In the National League, the Mets stood pat, but the Brewers went out and got Christian Moore. The Dodgers got Shota Imanaga, and the Giants got Jackson Holliday. San Francisco has made some outstanding roster moves lately. Last year in free agency, getting Randy Arozarena and Jared Jones, who I would vote to be the MVP and the Cy Young in the National League right now. San Francisco's really cooking. I hope them and the Dodgers play in the NLCS. That would be incredible for baseball. So now we're going to get through the month of August. We're going to player lock Justin Crawford's White Sox debut. The Dodgers are going to offer as a late trade, and it's kind of an interesting one. Hagen Smith for an outfield prospect in Quentin Morales. Again, they're looking for more pitching. They got Shota Imanaga, but I see why they would want more. Hagen Smith has been up and down this year, but I don't think it makes sense to trade him, a guy who we're probably going to need in the playoffs if we get in, for an 18-year-old 55 overall. Who is Crawford's debut against? Oh, would you look at that? It's the Philadelphia Phillies. Isn't that funny? 3 games in Chicago, a World Series rematch. Justin Crawford playing against his former team, as will Douglas Cato. Then through August, look at our schedule. We've got Cleveland, Detroit, Minnesota, Kansas City twice, Seattle, and the Yankees. We play a lot of important games in the month of August. It'll be a big month for us. So because of that, I think these next 6 games against the Phillies and the Angels are going to be pivotal. The Phillies had the worst record in the league. The Angels had the 3rd worst record in the league. If we go anything worse than 4-2 over these next 6 games, that would be a real travesty because we've got a lot of big games coming up against a lot of good teams. We need to produce. The Phillies are really bad. They got worse during the trade deadline. They're banged up. This is not the Phillies team who played against us last year in the World Series. They had the worst record in Major League Baseball. Justin Crawford and Douglas Cato will both play in center field today, playing against their former teams. I hope Douglas Cato kills it in Philadelphia. He was always a fun player when we had him out there, but it was the injuries. The guy couldn't stay on the field. He's been here for 4.5 years, and he's played 250 games at the big league level. Justin Crawford, meanwhile, we're hoping will be our starting center fielder for at least the next year and a half. And I think he's one of the better center fielders in baseball. He maybe doesn't have the awards and all-stars and accolades to back it up, but this is a 5-tool player who was a big reason why the Phillies won each of the last 2 World Series. This is a guy with a lot of postseason experience, former first-round pick, MLB bloodline, the son of former all-star outfielder Carl Crawford. He will lead off today, and we'll look at Hayden Wesneski getting the start for the White Sox. Andrew Painter, another former first-rounder of the Phillies, will start for them. Against his former teammate Justin Crawford, looks at the first changeup for ball 1. These two guys basically grew up together in the minors. Painter was the first rounder in 2021, Crawford the next year in 2022. The Phillies over the last 15 years really have never had good farm systems. These guys and Aiden Miller grew up in this system. They made it up to the big leagues, and they were the young pieces who helped propel the older guys like Harper and Turner and Mitch Keller, George Kirby, Ellie De La Cruz last year to those back-to-back World Series titles. And we're really lucky to have a guy like that who's only 26 years old joining an outfield with a lot of old dudes. Dane Myers is 34. Corey Julks is like 34. Mike Trout is 38. Gets us some young blood, gets us some speed, gets us some great defense, and a quality bat in the outfield. He's working a nice at bat here with Andrew Painter. We're at like 6-7 pitches at this point as the count is now full. Crawford has adequate plate discipline. I was hoping to get someone with better plate discipline, but it's better than Michael Harris, who doesn't walk at all. As it's a grounder to short, play is made for the first out of the inning. not a lot of recognizable guys on this Phillies team. It's crazy how much their team has changed since just last year. We'll move bottom three, still scoreless. Andrew Painter and Hayden Wesneski both pitching very well. First pitch of the AB, weak pop-up into foul territory. Aiden Miller is under it. He'll make the play. Miller a year and a half away from free agency as well. I think the Phillies are really going to prioritize paying him. He's better than Crawford, so I would see why he would take the priority as it's 2-1 going into the bottom of the sixth. Phillies ahead. Painter's still in the game. Crawford rips it up the middle, but not well enough as the play is made at second base by Luis Garcia, who had a big home run in this building last year during the World. Oh my God, it's 6-1. What happened? Yikes. Well, so much for that, I guess. Bottom nine, runner aboard. Matt Brash is in the game out of the pen for the Phillies as this one is flown into the air. Hit reasonably well near the warning track, but it is caught. Underwhelming White Sox debut for Justin Crawford. Maybe he thinks he still plays for the Phillies as he goes 0 for 4 in a 6-1 loss for Chicago. Not the start we were hoping for. I mean, for one thing, we want revenge on these guys. They just beat us in the World Series, for Christ's sake. But it's also a series at home against the worst team in Major League Baseball. There's no excuse to lose to these guys, especially considering some of the injuries they currently have. The pitching was not great, but I think the offense might have been the bigger issue. They did get a couple of home runs from Luis Garcia and Trey Turner. We only had 1 run, 3 hits, and 3 walks. That's not good. Justin Crawford was not the only guy who struggled. Schmidt homered. Nobody else really showed up. Wesneski was solid. He got the loss. I don't really think it's on him that much. Got to hit the ball better. Plain and simple. We'll see how we perform over these next 2 games. We certainly don't want to lose the series, and we definitely don't want to get swept. So I think we're going to go through our next 8 games, 2 more against the Phils, and then a West Coast trip against the Angels, and then the number 1 seed, Seattle Mariners. And then from there, we'll figure out which division games we really want to key in on. I think I'm going to play one of the games against Kansas City because we don't see them in September, and they are currently in first. This is an interesting deal for Minnesota. Yanquiel Fernandez is having a great season. He's better than Hagen Smith, but there's no reason that Minnesota would do this, so I'm going to say no. The Royals with a big deal at the buzzer. They're getting Brandon Williamson, a first-time All-Star from the Reds. I said their bullpen was a weakness. Not anymore. They get Gregory Santos. They obviously added Mitch Keller to the rotation, and now Brandon Williamson is one of the best relievers in the league. Just made his first All-Star team, but he's not a one-year wonder. He's been one of the best for a while. He won the reliever of the year last year in the NL. That's a huge get for Kansas City, and with their additions to the pitching staff, they're the clear favorite in the AL Central. Corey Julks, shoulder separation. Lovely. He will be out for most of the remainder of the regular season. That's not good. He's been our most consistent hitter, in my opinion, this year. We're not going to replace him with Alex Verdugo, although I do appreciate the offer, Yankees. To make matters worse, we got swept by the worst team in the league. We lost 12-7 in the second game. Douglas Cato homered. At least Justin Crawford was good. 2 walks, 2 extra base hits. Noah Schultz really struggled. And then the third game, we lost 4-2. Offense was not very good. Again, Yuri Perez in his debut, 4 2/3 innings, he allowed 4 runs. Corey Julks has had a really good season. His Linsanity run at the end of 2028, well, that wasn't really a Linsanity run. That's just who he is at this point. He's a really, really good player who plays a lot of positions, and because of that, he's extremely valuable. We're going to replace him on the roster with Waldo, who was just taken off the injured list, so at least he's healthy. We've reached the deadline for signing draft picks. We only have one guy left, catcher Orlando Ponce, and unfortunately he says no, so we will not be able to sign him. We'll take a look at our draft class's ratings in just a little bit, but first we will get through this Angels series. We lost the first 2 games, and we're about to lose the third. On the bright side, Mike Trout against his former team has homered twice, and he's looking for a third against Kyle Nicholas. 3-0, they don't want to pitch to him. He's got the green light, though, swinging a miss on the fastball. That'll make things 3-1. Trout looking to light a spark for a White Sox team who's lost all momentum over these last few games. That ball is hit fairly well and pretty deep into left center field, but it is not deep enough. An embarrassing 6-game stretch for the White Sox against 2 of the worst teams in baseball. I said 4-2's got to be the minimum for us, given how tough our schedule will be in August. We went 0-6. 0-6! That's the type of stretch that can kill your playoff chances. If we can't beat the Phillies and the Angels, then how are we supposed to fare with a full month playing against potential playoff teams in the American League, like Seattle and New York and everybody in the AL Central. Those are the teams who we are directly competing with for wild card seeding and obviously the division title. Wisniewski was not good. The offense has lost all momentum. Justin Crawford has not been very impressive so far. I was really concerned about how we would look going into the Seattle series, but we did end up winning 2 of 3, which honestly was a lot better than I expected. Edgar Caro homered in the first game. Noah Schultz with a big bounce back. Warner Gentry homered twice, but that was it for Seattle. 12-9 in the second game. Wagner, Schmidt, Ramos, Escobedo, all homer. Yuri Perez wasn't great, but neither was Roki Sasaki. We could have donated a couple of those runs to this last game, but unfortunately not. 6 shutty for Hagen Smith. Doesn't get the win because our offense let us down. So we are 57-58. We're 4th in the division, and we're tied with the Yankees, 2 back for the final wild card spot. And now look at this. 3 games against Cleveland, 3 against Detroit, then Kansas City, then Minnesota, then Kansas City again. 15 of our next 18 games are within the division, where all 4 teams are in the race. And of those 15 games, 12 of them are against teams that are ahead of us. So this is a great chance, and maybe our only chance, to catch up with some of these guys for the rest of the year. Before that, though, we'll take a look at the results from our draft class, and we have some interesting results. It appears our scouts may have lied to us. Esteban Saldana was our scout's 3rd-ranked guy in the draft. He's only a 58 with 73. And then Andy Dukes, our scout, said he'd be between like a 78 and an 83 overall immediately. I thought he could start in our rotation next year. Alexis Caballero looks like a hit. Chad Huntley looks like a hit. But Saldana and Dukes were the 2 guys I was most excited about. Saldana, I thought, would be a big-time prospect who we could develop with Mike Benitez and Odell Herring. And Andy Dukes, I thought, was going to contribute for his next season. And he was a big reason why I didn't feel the need to go out and get a long-term starting pitcher at the deadline like Tink Hence, because I knew at some point next year he'd be available. To make matters worse, the guy we almost picked in the first round, Connie Hodge, looks really good. 83 overall. Now, granted, he only has 81 potential, but this is a guy who could start next year. He is going to the Phillies, who, really need a guy like him. I don't necessarily regret choosing Saldana over him. I think the process made sense. Our scouts really liked Saldana. He looked like a big-time upside prospect. Connie Hodge was the 5th projected pick. He fell all the way to 30, and we didn't scout him at all. It was a really big gamble. Obviously, in hindsight, you could easily make the argument that we should have taken it, but I don't necessarily regret not doing it because I think we were correct in our process. So we are going to play one of the games in Kansas City. We've got 6 at home against Cleveland and Detroit, both of whom are ahead of us for 3rd and 2nd place, respectively. In Game 1 against Cleveland, we're up 3-2. The Guardians had the bases loaded, though, with 2 away here in the top of the 7th. A big spot for Tyler O'Neill, who hits this one into the shallow part of right. Dane Myers will make the play, and we're able to get out of the jam. We hold on to the lead. Can we hold on to the win, though? We only had 3 hits. The offense has not been very good, except for the 2 games in Seattle where we scored like 21 combined runs. Justin Crawford, hello, 3 for 3, 2 homers. He's driven in all 3 of our runs. He has been the entirety of the offense today. Facing off against the lefty, Colby Allard. Playing against Colby Allard in the last episode was an experience. This guy is nasty. The ratings and the stats might not show it. He's filthy as Crawford strikes out, and ultimately we would end up getting the win, 3-2. So a good start against a good Cleveland team who we're pretty much even with in terms of 3rd place, and they are our biggest competition in terms of that 3rd wild card spot. So of all the series within the division, this is the one that I believe is probably a little bit more important than the rest, given how close it is for us and Cleveland with that final spot. We didn't hit the ball very well. Other than Justin Crawford as a team, we had 1 hit. That's not very good. It didn't matter, though. Crawford drove in 3, homered twice. Pitching was really solid. Jack Flaherty was good, and he's had a really good year. Made his first All-Star team of his career this year. I'm surprised he's never made it. But Framber Valdez was arguably a little bit better. 6 innings, 2 earned. Bullpen came in, shut the door. Game 2 now against Cleveland. We lead it 2-1, top of the 9th. Jojo Romero looking to get the save. Tying runs at 2nd. Go-ahead runs at 1st. Huge opportunity for Carl Rhodes, who played well against us at home in July's series, as that one is up the middle for a hit into center. Crawford, the throw to the plate is a little bit off. Austin Wells scores. Rhodes off the bench with a pinch-hitting, game-tying RBI, and Jojo Romero blows the save. Now Cleveland looks to take the lead, but George Valera is behind 0-2, and he chases the slider. So Romero gets out of the top of the ninth. Cleveland does get one. Now we will look to walk it off, perhaps. Can we do it in the bottom of the ninth? Try to avoid extra innings and win the series against Cleveland even before the final game. Next chance we would get to hop in, sure enough, is the bottom of the ninth. We have loaded the bases. Slade Ciccone on the mound. Our best player, Kyle Teal, is up to bat. Just don't put the ball on the ground. That's all I ask. First pitch on the ground. You've got to be joking. Oh, he missed the throw! And the White Sox with a walk-off win off the error. We tried our damnedest to ground into a double play and lose the game, but Cleveland had other plans. A throwing error by the first baseman, John Kenzie Noel. The big Grinch who stole Christmas. Chicago survives. We certainly needed a little luck there. We tried our best to screw it up with the bases loaded, but Cleveland one-upped us. Tyler Mahle was solid. Bullpen played pretty well. 11 hits, 4 walks. We got guys on base. We just couldn't really score them. Hayden Wesneski with a great game. Bullpen, other than Romero, played really well. So unfortunately, we did lose the last game against Cleveland. And we also lost the first game here against Detroit. So after winning 2 in a row, we've lost 2 straight. Certainly don't want to lose another one. Tied at 5, top of the ninth. The former White Sox, Garrett Hampson, is up against Edwin Uceta. This one on the ground. Gets by Waldo for a hit into right. Myers has got a good arm. They are not going to test it. The bases are loaded, though, with 1 away. Ground ball ends the inning. Base hit could drive in 2. Extra base hit would drive in 3 because Hampson's really fast. It's Max Clark, one of the best players on this Tigers team. Everybody's going. It's a suicide squeeze. Over to second. Schneemann will only be able to get 1 out at first, and we barely even did that. Tigers score a run. They take the lead 6-5, and they've still got 2 runners in scoring position for Kyle Manzardo, their big addition at the trade deadline from the Nationals. And Manzardo comes up big. Down the line, opposite field, scores 2. And Detroit firmly in control of this game and this series as they look to make it 2-0 in this set. They lead the game 8-5. We're going to take Uceta out of the game. Abner Uribe has 99 pitching clutch, and he's played really well over the last roughly month or so. So we're going to hope he can keep the lead at 8-5 and give us at least a little bit of room in the bottom of the ninth to hope for a miracle. Justin Henry Malloy, the 1-0 for Jay Henn, is popped into the air and left. Mike Trout is under it, and he will make the play. Tigers went into the inning down by 1, and even though those runs came off of Edwin Uceta, it was really Jojo Romero who blew the game again. He lets up 3 of the 4 earned runs and gets the loss as the Tigers win the game 8-5. They won the first game 6-4, so they're looking for the sweep in game 3, and this would really put Detroit in a good spot, at least in terms of finishing ahead of us. The Tigers are also starting to surpass Kansas City. Detroit has played really well since the deadline, and they're starting to take a little control in the AL Central. This was a very winnable game for us, but the bullpen blew it again. We're certainly missing Ezra Valenzuela's consistency. Jojo Romero, I think, was a lot better when he was not the closer. Tarek Skubal, 5 in the 3rd innings. He let up 5 runs. We hit the ball well off of him. Trout homers again. Hagen Smith was not great. Bullpen was until the 9th, but Jojo Romero let us down. Luckily, we do win the last game to avoid the sweep, 11-7, so the offense did play really well. They had 13 hits. We had 14. Their pitching was rough. Jackson Jobe did not make it out of the first inning. Homers for Crawford. 2 for Schmidt. Cam Smith did as well. 14 hits, 8 walks on a game where Framber Valdez did not look his best. The bullpen was good, and the lineup had one of their best games of the year. So that brings us to this pivotal series against the Royals. We are going to make a switch. It's time to bring him back up. AAA hitting has proven to be far too easy for Ezra Valenzuela, which is exactly what I had hoped for. And once he was in a consistent groove, I was going to call him back up. I think the time for that is now. I really don't have many choices in terms of pitchers we can send down. There's only one guy who has less than 5 years of MLB service and has an option left. Actually, I think Noah Schultz does too, but obviously we're not going to send down Schultz. So that leaves us with Hagen Smith. So we're going to send him down to AAA. I think he'll be back in the big league, certainly no later than September call-ups. He hasn't played that well as of recent, so I don't really feel that bad about it. Bryce Wilson will go back to the rotation. Ezra's going to have to earn his way back to the closer. I know JoJo hasn't been playing that well, but I need to see what Ezra can do in terms of getting some volume over the month of August before giving him his closer spot back. We're right now 4th place in the division against Kansas City, who's in 2nd. I think we're going to play the last game. I want to use Yuri Perez. So we'll start with game 1. Bottom 9, tied at 1. Royals with a chance to walk it off. They've got 2 runners aboard. The first-time All-Star Roger Lerma is in scoring position for the former top 5 draft pick Sean Rose, a prospect who we really coveted in the 2026 draft. Grounds to second. Mydruff going to be a tough play. Throw to first is in time. Bruno Merced, who since the month of April, I really believe has been our most consistent pitcher. Not just reliever, pitcher in general. Bottom 10, 2 away, 2 on. Rose at third. And it's Gavin Cross up for Kansas City with Merced still in the game. Looking to get through another inning. The 1-2. That one is low. Runner will go for second. I'm not even going to bother throwing it because the runner that we care about is obviously Sean Rose at third. He's the winning run. The guy at second is largely irrelevant. I don't even know why he really ran to begin with. We're not going to give Cross anything good. A walk is fine. A walk sets up a force out at every base. So that really wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. We're not going to give him anything near the zone, but I'm not going to intentionally walk him just in case he's stupid enough to swing at a ball. Check swing. Merced gets out of the inning. I don't know why Justin Cross swung the bat there. What was he expecting? We're still tied at 1. We will fast forward a little bit into the future to the top of the 11th. 2 on. Schneemann gets on with a walk for Barney Wagner, who puts it on the ground. Damn. Off of Brandon Williamson, the first-time All-Star, the reigning NL reliever of the year, and one of Kansas City's 3 deadline additions. Let's go bottom 12. We did score in the top half. Kyle Teal, an RBI single. And now Jojo Romero's in for the save. I don't know what to expect. He hasn't played well recently. He's got Jackson Merrill with 1 away. The 0-2, swing and a miss on the slider. A big reason why the Royals have played well this year is because they spent some money this offseason. Yeah, they lost Jared Jones, but they added Jackson Merrill. They added Jordan Westberg. And they've got a lot of really good prospects. Their system is loaded. This team's going to be a problem for years to come, but they were not a problem today. B.J. Murray grounds out, and the White Sox take the first of 3 against the Royals on the road, 2-1. Big win for Chicago, especially with that little 3-game skid that we had. Certainly want to win this series against the Royals team, who we're not just competing with for the division, but they do currently hold one of those top wild card spots. Dane Myers homers, Teal the big RBI late. Pitching was phenomenal. They won us the game. 7 innings of 1-run ball for Wisniewski, and then Bruno Merced, tough as nails. He let a couple of runners on, but he was able to get himself out of some jams. Lucas Giolito, the former White Sox, was great. Hard to blame their pitching. They were phenomenal. Game 2, bottom 7, 2-1, bases loaded. Bruno Merced is in against Nico Horner, who grounds it to first. Caro makes the play. The Royals leave him loaded. Bruno Merced, I've noticed, not just in this series against the Royals, but throughout the year, he lives for the high leverage spots. Cam Smith, RBI double. We win the game 3-1. Offense really didn't play very well in the first 2 against Kansas City. We only scored 5 runs, and that was with an additional 3 innings in the first game. But our pitching has been terrific in this series against the Royals. Great game from Noah Schultz. 5 innings, only 1 earned run. Schultz has been inconsistent this year, but his really good starts have been phenomenal. Ezra Valenzuela's back. He allowed a couple of base runners, but got out of an inning, and then the bullpen did a great job in this one. So we lead the series 2-0. That's great. In this 15-game divisional stretch, we're 5-3 so far. Could be doing a lot worse, considering we went 0-6 against maybe the 2 worst teams in the league prior. We're still in 4th, but we're only 1 game back of Cleveland. We're only 3 back of Kansas City. We've caught up to the Royals quite a bit in this series. We are 7 back at the Tigers, though. They are starting to run away a little bit from everyone. Their series win against us obviously helping that. The Royals right now are the number 2 wild card. Cleveland is number 3, and we're a game back. So we theoretically could be tied for that third spot after this game. Looking for the sweep in Kansas City against the Royals. Couple of trade deadline guys on the bump. Yuri Perez for the White Sox and Mitch Keller will go for the Royals. In terms of some storylines, I think the big one throughout the entire year has to be Mike Trout. Turning back the clock, he's hitting .383 over his last 28 games. And as this season continues to go along, I imagine we will be in a very competitive race during the month of September. I think at that point, Mike Trout will probably have to play close to every day. I don't want to get to that point yet, though. I still want to keep him as conditioned and as energized as possible for when we truly need him down the stretch. But, man, he has been unbelievable this year. 8 homers in his last 94 at-bats. Again, hitting nearly 400 in that stretch. No Oswaldo Escobedo or Brian Ramos, they have both been not playing great. Waldo struggling since coming back from injury. So here is the 2028 Cy Young winner, Mitch Keller, who pitched twice against us in the World Series last year. This one is put on the ground to second. What a scoop by Julian Villalobos for the first out of the inning. Keller retires his former Phillies teammate, Justin Crawford. Kyle Teal is now up. Teal, of course, played quite well in that World Series against the Phillies. Rips this one into right field for a base hit, and we've got our first runner of the game. A one-out single for Kyle Teal, who continues to be one of the best players in baseball since that horrible first 40-ish games of the year. Edgar Caro's been in the same boat. He'll draw a walk. So already some early base runners for us. We're stacking some guys aboard. We've got 2 on, 2 away for Shane Schmidt, who hits this one into the left center field gap. Back at the track, at the wall, it is gone! 3-run shot here in the top of the first for Shane Schmidt. And the White Sox lead 3-0, the 21st home run of his season. I definitely want to set the tone here. I cannot imagine the Royals offense is going to lay down and quit. They've scored 2 runs in 21 innings in this series. I'm expecting a better game out of them. So to be able to set the tone early is a big deal. The Royals get out of the inning as Cam Smith goes down on the sweeper, but a great start. Already some early run support for Yuri Perez, who might need it. This is, I believe, his 4th game now with the White Sox. He hasn't really looked all that good with us quite yet. Again, we were kind of getting what we paid for. He didn't cost as much. 2 prospects ranked outside of the top 10 as he gets Roger Lerma to go down on the 99-mile-an-hour fastball. He still throws very, very hard, and he's got good stuff overall. Bobby Witt Jr. checked his swing. Pitch was in the zone anyway as Yuri Perez retires the side in order. 1, 2, 3. And we'll go into the second. Dane Myers quietly has been playing some really good ball. He's been the unsung hero of this team and has turned out to be a great free agent signing as he goes down looking. Daniel Schneemann now up for Chicago. Count is 3-1. Finds himself ahead of Keller as Schneemann rips this one into left field. That one will fall. Schneemann didn't get to play against Keller in the World Series. He missed the second half of last year with an injury. Bad throw. Won't really change anything. It's still a double. So we've got a runner in scoring position for Barney Wagner, the 1-2. Oh, man, that was some filthy movement on the sweeper. Good load. That'll send up Justin Crawford now. Phillies champions facing off against each other. 3-2. Draws a walk on the high fastball. That's a good take. Not an easy pitch to not swing at. 2 on, 2 away. Kyle Teal gets a pitch he likes. He's a little behind it, though. Fly out into center, where that one will be caught to wrap up the inning. Keller gets out of the jam as the Sox leave a pair. We'll go into the bottom of the second. We'll see if the Royals offense can get something going here. Sean Rose finds himself with a full count, former first rounder. And this one is crushed into left field. Trout can only watch it fly. That baby is out of here. 425 for Sean Rose, who's quickly become one of the best young power hitters in baseball. His 27th home run of the year. This was supposed to be us. He was supposed to be our guy. Rose wearing number 1 in the Red City Connect uniforms. I had it all drawn up before the Royals stole him from us, and here in his first full season in the American League, he's got a chance at the home run title. 1-out double for Jackson Merrill. He is very fast, so good opportunity for the Royals to score another as he goes for third. Murray strikes out. Merrill is barely safe. That was close. Not a bad throw at all behind the plate, but he is going to make it in. Gavin Cross with a runner 90 away from home, lines out to Schneemann. And we only let up the one. A solo homer by Sean Rose. That'll bring us into the top of the third. Edgar Caro gets plunked. So he reaches base for a second time. Walked his first time up. And that'll bring up Mike Trout, the 2-2. Trout lines this one into right field. That'll go for a hit. Okay, we've got 2 on. Nobody out. Great opportunity to score. We left a couple of guys on in the last inning. Left some meat on the bone. Shane Schmidt homered his first time up. Schmidt rips a liner into right. And the bases are loaded with nobody out. I don't see a good reason to send the runner. That would be pretty stupid. The Royals are going to take Keller out of the game here. I'm a little surprised they did it this early, but he has really struggled today. 2 innings, 3 runs allowed. Could double that depending on what they get out of the bullpen from Kerry Yu, who's got to get the Royals out of the jam. Now, as we know, this team is not good with the bases loaded, but with nobody out, there's no way we don't score anybody. Full count for Smith is popped up high into the air. That one will be caught by B.J. Murray for the first out of the inning. Okay, now there's a chance they do get out of this. We just cannot put the ball on the ground. You have got to be kidding me. 4-6-3 from Myers. The White Sox had bases loaded. Nobody out. At minimum, we should get 2. We scored none. That is embarrassing. But also hilariously on brand. Riley Adams gets that one by the diving glove of Shane Schmidt at first base. A leadoff single for the Royals. They're starting to hit the ball well. If this game ends up being close and we lose because we let those runners on in the top of the third, I'm going to be livid. Lerma, blooper into left. Another hit for the Royals. They've got 2 on, they've got nobody out, and the heart of the order due up. They could really do some damage against the guy on Yuri Perez, who hasn't been that good this year. Julian Villalobos, swing and a miss on the high fastball. That's a big one for Perez. He needed that. Bobby Witt Jr., the 1-1. Up the middle. Smith flips it. Wagner to first in time. The Royals leave a couple runners on themselves. They saw what we did in the top half of the inning and were inspired. Let's move to the fourth. Daniel Schneemann gets us started. That one will be grounded to short. Going to be a tough play. The throw from Bobby Witt Jr. is not in time. Leadoff single for Schneemann. Good effort by Bobby Witt, one of the best in the biz. 1 away, full count for Justin Crawford. Runner goes for second, only with 1 out. We were going to have him steal in the case of like a strikeout or something, but Crawford draws a walk, his second of the game. Now we've got 2 on, 1 away. Kyle Teal sends this one into the outfield. The Royals were playing deep, so that ball's going to drop. We're going to hold the runner at third. I think in hindsight, he probably would have been safe. So now we have the bases loaded again, and knowing us, we're probably going to ground into a double play. Caro's swinging a miss. That's not much better. But at the very least, he'll give Mike Trout an opportunity. Count is full for Trout. 2 away, bases loaded. The 3 runners will go. Trout swinging a miss in the dirt. Gets by Mitchell. Gonna have to scoop it up. Throw to first. Not in time! The inning stays alive. A run scores. And it's 4-1. We score off of the wild pitch. That'll bring up Shane Schmidt. Looking to start a rally with the blunder. That one goes up the middle for a single. 1 run scores. Second looks to join. Trout to third. Everybody's safe. 2-run single for Schmidt. He's driven in 5 runs. And it's 6-1 in favor of the White Sox. Cam Smith is now up for Chicago. The 1-1. And he gets plunked on the elbow. And the bases are loaded again for a 3rd time in the last 2 innings. That'll bring up Dane Myers, who grounded into that bases loaded double play last time. Myers gets a hold of this one into left field. It's got some carry. At the track. At the wall. It is out of here! A grand slam for Dane Myers. The White Sox have put up a 7th spot here in the 4th. His 14th home run of the year, and it's 10-1. All because of a wild pitch and dropped 3rd strike that could have ended the inning with no run scoring. The Royals are going to have to go to their 3rd pitcher of the inning. The veteran Pablo Lopez, who's largely been used as a starter, has moved to the bullpen with the addition of Keller. Daniel Schneemann is the one who started the inning with a good hustle on an infield single. He draws a walk, reaches base for a 2nd time. The Royals, doesn't matter who's pitched, all of them, their control's been all over the place. We've drawn a ton of walks today. Barney Wagner, ball 4, take your base. We have at least 4, maybe 5 in this inning alone. Justin Crawford walked earlier in the inning. Has a full count, and he swings and misses at the high fastball. That would have been ball 4. We drew like 5 walks in that inning. but we could have gotten more. Trout on the play that should have ended the inning on the drop third strike, and then there from Crawford. White Sox leave 2 aboard again, but it doesn't really matter because we scored 7 and lead it 10-1 going into the bottom of the 4th. Sean Rose homered back in the 2nd. He'll look for his 2nd extra base hit of the game as this one will one-hop off the wall, 114 miles an hour for a leadoff double. I mean, I guess you got to start somewhere if you're the Royals down by 9. They don't want to potentially risk falling behind in this division. They led by us by 5 games going into the series. Right now it's 3. That could go down to 2. Merrill down the line. It'll be an RBI. The play at 2nd is not in time. His 2nd extra base hit of the afternoon. An RBI double that puts the Royals within 8. Put your rally caps on, kids. B.J. Murray now. Full count. 3-2. He draws a walk. Thank goodness for that drop third strike, because otherwise this would be a game. Yuri Perez has not pitched all that well. Gavin Cross single into left. That'll score Merrill, and it's 3-1. Trout's throw, not even close. He's certainly not the defensive player he once was. As much as the offense has been great, his defense is not what it used to be. We're going to take Perez out of the game, and we're going to bring in Ezra Valenzuela. I want to throw him in a high-leverage spot with a couple of base runners on. The goal is that we get him through the 5th inning. He's a guy who obviously can go multiple innings when needed. Riley Adams, though, singles into right. KC will try to score off of Myers, and the runner is safe. It's 10-4. Give Kansas City a little credit. They've got 3 so far in this inning. They've got 2 runners on the corners. They've got 1 away. If we don't look out, the Royals could make this interesting. Lerma up the middle. Ezra cannot make the play. Wagner, what a grab from his butt. Unable to make the throw. Run scores. It's 10-5. All of those runs going against Perez. The 2 guys on base, though, would be Ezra's. Julian Villalobos swinging a miss on the cutter. Good pitch by Ezra for the 2nd out of the inning. Bobby Witt Jr. now 2 on, 2 away, full count. Check to swing, 1 around for strike 3. Well, that was an eventful 4th inning. 11 runs scored by the 2 teams. White Sox with 7. Royals with a good response getting 4. As it's 10-5. Edgar Caro clobbers this one early in the 5th. An absolute moonshot. 4:33. And the White Sox make it 11-5. The offensive entourage will not stop. His 18th home run of the year. Chicago regains a 6-run lead. We're hitting for power. We're hitting for contact. We're drawing walks. We're doing everything. It's been a flawless offensive game. But we're not done. Mike Trout into left center field. That one is gone into the fountain for 444 feet. Back-to-back homers for the Sox, and it's 12-5, his 15th of the year. And he's at 15, keep in mind, not playing for the first month of the year and being a platoon guy since. Now the Royals are going to get one back here in the bottom of the 5th. Jordan Westburg into left, 409 feet, and that'll make it 12-6. The big problem with Ezra Valenzuela this year is he's allowed too many homers. He's allowed more than he did last year in like half as many innings. He's almost allowed more than he did as a rookie, and it looks like that may continue to be a problem as Westburg punctuates that ball into the seats. Merrill, 2 for 2, swinging a miss on the cutter. Ezra gets us through the 5th. We'll travel to the top of the 6th, and the offense is not done. Kyle Teal's turn. He flips the bat. That one goes into the fountain. 469. Hello. 2-run shot. We got Crawford on base off of another walk. His 3rd of the game, by the way. And he really should have 4. Kyle Teal makes it 14-6. Holy cow. That's, 5 home runs now? This is nuts. Another pitching change for the Royals. Luis Perales will come out of the bullpen. 4.12 ERA. I imagine they're going to want him to eat some innings. Probably not use their high-leverage guys. I don't think we'll see Brandon Williamson or Gregory Santos. Edgar Caro hits this ball high and deep into center. He homered in the last inning. And he will homer again. 15-6. Is that 6 home runs now for Chicago? I've lost count. 19th of the year for Edgar, going 433 feet. This might be even better than the Texas game in May that turned our season around. This is nuts. Jagger Haynes will come in out of the bullpen. The goal is that he will go the rest of the way. I don't want to have any of our regular relievers in. There's no reason to. and he will get through the 6th pretty easily. Villalobos makes the play. Given that this game is trending towards becoming a blowout, we'll move through the latter innings a little bit quicker. We'll happen to the bottom of the 7th. It remains 15-6. Believe it or not, we did not homer in the top half. Jordan Westbrook draws a walk, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. Again, we better watch our back. What if the Royals go on a big run? One away, B.J. Murray sends it to short. Could be 2. Wagner misses the throw to Waldo. Everybody is safe. That could have ended the inning. But instead, it's a throwing error by Barney Wagner. It nets 1 and possibly more. Riley Adams is 3 for 3. That'll score at least 2. Adams will hold it first. It's a 2-run single. And it is now 15-9. 24 runs have been scored in this game. That's a lot. We're probably not going to have the game the rest of the year that sees this many. I don't know if we've had this many in a game in this series. Lerma into right. Myers will make the play. Royals tack on 3, however. It's 15-9. We'll travel a little bit now into the top half of the 9th inning. Score remains the same. Up for Chicago is Chase Mydruff, who's brought a lot of guys in off the bench as he puts it on the ground. Give Luis Perales a lot of credit. Last 3 innings, he's been shut down. I mean, our offense was cruising early, but he's done a good job of trying to keep the score respectable, make sure we don't push it up to 20. But still, 15 runs, 16 hits, bunch of walks. Best offensive game I've probably ever seen from this team, and that's with doing nothing the final 3 innings. Now, the Royals have a chance at double digits. Gavin Cross splits Haynes' legs for a single into center. Crawford's throw to the plate is a good one, but not in time. 15-10. The Royals scored 2 runs in the first 2 games. I told you their offense was going to look a little bit better. I didn't know it'd be this much better. Adams on the ground. This could do it. 5-4-3, double play, and the White Sox win it 15-10. No shortage of offense here in Kansas City. The Royals scored 5 times as many runs as they did in the first 2 games, and they still lost by 5. This game was a blowout, even with them scoring 10 runs. Both teams had 16 hits. That's ridiculous. I mean, everybody was hitting the ball. 32 base hits in this game from the 2 teams. That is an extremely high number, not to mention we had 7 walks. Crawford had 3 of them. Teal had 3 hits. Caro reached base 3 times, including 2 homers. Schmidt reached base all 5 times. Homer. Drove in 5. Myers with a grand slam. And the pitching wasn't even good. They were really bad. 10 runs, 16 hits, 3 walks, homers for Westberg and Rose. But their pitching was serving batting practice the first 6 innings of the game until Perales came in. What a huge sweep for the White Sox. That's gigantic for us. We get some momentum. We pull within a couple of games of the Royals. Had Kansas City won that series, I think it would be close to impossible for us to realistically catch them. But now we're within striking distance. We're only 2 behind Kansas City. We're only 1 behind Cleveland. We're only 1 behind that last wild card spot in the American League. The Royals and the Guardians feel like the 2 teams we've really got to chase right now, given that the Tigers are starting to pull away a little bit. We'll go through our next 9. We're on the road in Atlanta, and then a couple more division games with Minnesota and Kansas City. We get to see some old friends in Atlanta. Bryce Miller gets the start in this first game. Taj Bradley gets the start in game 2. Miller allowed a 2-run homer in the top of the first, but otherwise Atlanta's pitching has been really good. Colt Emerson swinging a miss. Tony Santillan gets out of the jam with 2 runners aboard, and that would prove to be the difference. Chicago survives in a pitching duel. We win it 2-1. It is a 5-game win streak for the Sox. The Braves are pretty bad, but it's still a road series, still a revenge game for both Bryce Miller and then the next one, Taj Bradley. 5 innings, 2 earned for Miller. He gets the loss. Hard to blame him, though, when the offense didn't show up. Kyle Teal and Dalton Rushing, the 2 best catchers in Major League Baseball, both homer, but their offenses gave them nothing else. Teal's 24th of the year. He's now driven in 69 runs. Nice. Good start for Bryce Wilson. 6 innings, 1 earned. Gets the dub. We'll hop into our next series against Minnesota. We split the last 2 games against Atlanta. We lost the Taj Bradley start. He played really well against us. We were down 8-1. In the second game against Minnesota, we lost the first one. So now we're starting to not play as well again. Minnesota is in last place in the division, but we still need all the wins we can get anyway. Kyle Teal, 10-game hitting streak on the line, will not get it there. Would be given one more chance in the bottom of the 9th, however. Dane Myers, 2-run single. It's 8-3, 2 on, 2 away. You know, if we keep this rally going, we could make things a little bit interesting. Against Jonathan, Teal splits that one between the first and third baseman for a single. That should score a run. It's 8-4. With the tying run on deck, you never know. We could make things a little interesting. Well, unfortunately, the fun would stop there. We lose the second game against Minnesota as they look to get revenge on last year's classic ALCS. They take the first 2 here in Chicago. Minnesota needs a lot to go well in terms of the playoff race. They've really fallen off here in the month of August. They are a clear tier below everybody in the division. And as I said earlier, I don't think more so beating Minnesota is a big deal. It's just that we need wins anyway to catch up with Cleveland and Kansas City. So losing the first 2 against the Twins, not a great look. Kalen Culpepper and James Wood both go deep. Wood, a free agent at the end of the year. On the mound, David Festa pitched really well. Got a little dicey there with Clay Holmes. Our offense has scored 10 runs over the first 2 games against Minnesota. It's hard to blame the bats. Crawford with a homer. Pitching was not great, though. Yuri Perez struggled again. Jagger Haynes struggled again. Perez got injured as well, pulled a back muscle. We'll hop into this last game looking to avoid the sweep at the very least, and it looks like we'll be able to. We're up 9-2 in the bottom of the 8th. Cam Smith is having himself an afternoon, a triple shy of the cycle, facing off against Dennis Santana, the 0-1. That one's not going to be a triple. What a play at second base! Smith is safe at first. Goes for an infield single, an impressive effort nonetheless by Nori Ishii. We would add to the lead and we win big. 12-2 is your final. Another dominant showing by the offense. Could have used a couple more of those runs in the first 2 games. Again, not that the offense was the problem. We scored 22 runs across 3 games against Minnesota. That's really impressive. Logan Gilbert, who's quite good, was not particularly impressive. 4 innings, 4 earned. Minnesota only had 4 hits. Yasser Mercedes with a homer, but otherwise nobody else really did much. 12 runs, 19 hits, and 3 walks. Homers for Smith, Teal, Waldo, and 2 more for Mike Trout. Bryce Wilson, 6 2/3, allowing 2 earned runs. Merced gets the save. So now we've got the Royals at home. We just swept them at their place. You best believe they're looking for revenge. We're down 5-0. Kyle Teal looking to continue his hit streak as he lines out to third here in the bottom of the 7th against Trevor Stephan. We'll get one more shot in the 9th. Miguel Lozano is in. I'm a little surprised they're bringing their 4-time All-Star closer in for the save up by 5. But Teal pops this one up. She'll be caught by Westberg in the shallow outfield, and it is. Royals take the first one against Chicago. That's a big deal. Kansas City entered the series 3.5 games ahead of Chicago. Now they're up by 4.5. If they theoretically sweep us, then that would put us 6.5 back at the Royals, and that would make it really hard to come back. Kansas City still holds the 2nd wild card spot currently. We just did not play a very clean game. Tommy Henry, 6 shutty on the mound for the Royals. He played really well. Young guy who's having a very nice year. As for us, 4 hits, 6 walks, only 1 extra base hit, a double by Schneemann. Framber Valdez was not good. He's had a bad month. I don't know what the deal with him is, but he's been struggling. Game 2, tied at 5, top of the 9th. The Royals got 2 guys on, and a big spot here for Sean Rose against JoJo Romero. Got him looking, what a pitch! Circle change, paints the bottom outside corner of the zone, and the game remains tied at 5. We'll see if we can potentially win it in the bottom of the 9th. Edgar Caro's at third base. Chase Mydroth is up for now. Mydroth has had a solid season, but I think we can do a little better off the bench. So we're going to bring in a pinch hitter. Off the bench, looking to win the game for the White Sox, is Cam Smith. High leverage Cam. Had a bunch of big spots last episode. Came up big multiple times, but he pops it up behind the plate. Royals make the play. We are headed to extras. B.J. Murray, RBI double, so it's 6-5 into the bottom of the 10th. Kansas City gets 1. Waldo at 2nd. Daniel Schneemann leads it off against Brandon Williamson, looking for the save as that ball is hit high and deep into center field. Back at the track, at the wall, it is gone! Demon Schneemann walks it off. A 6-7 final, giving the White Sox win number 67 on the year. Daniel Schneemann's been our late game heroics guy, but we haven't gotten that from him so far this year. Until now, the Demon is back. Walk-off winner off the bat of Schneemann against the All-Star Brandon Williamson. Carrier did not pitch a great game. Bullpen was great, though, for the Royals. As for us, Colson Montgomery, homer, drove in 3. Caro with an RBI. Trout with an RBI. Schneemann with the winner. We won the last game as well, so we win the series against the Royals. We're within 2.5 games. We went 5-1 against Kansas City. Some other results include the loss against the Braves. Framber Valdez really struggled again, while Taj Bradley pitched very well, 7 innings, 3 earned. We did win the last game, though, 8-1 in order to win the series. Hayden Wisniewski was great. 3-inning save for Edwin Uceta, outplaying Jackson Ferris. So overall, I think we did fairly well in our big division stretch. We took 2 against Cleveland, lost 2 against Detroit, swept the Royals, lost 2 against Minnesota, and then took 2 against Kansas City. This last game we won 9-1. Mitch Keller struggled again. Ramos and Escobedo homered. Waldo had a triple as well. Schultz, 6 innings, 1 earned. Very good performance from him. So in the 15 division games, we went 9-6. I'll gladly take that. We're still in 4th, but we're within 2.5 of the Royals, and we are within 2 of Cleveland. We're going to stop here because we've got the Yankees coming up, and then after that, Minnesota again, Detroit again, pivotal series on the road against Cleveland. Luis Robert returns to Chicago. That'll be pretty fun. The plan is the next episode, we will get through the rest of the regular season. We'll see if the White Sox are able to push themselves into the playoffs, or if our bad start at the beginning of the year proves to be too much to overcome. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know what you thought of our trade deadline moves down below in the comments. Peace out.